This episode is sponsored by No Prisoner Productions.
Welcome to New and In Between. I'm your host, Mia Quinn Maddox, and this is my therapy in the valley. Real talk for real life, hope when you're stuck, healing when you're hurting, and wisdom for what's next. Maybe you're stepping into something new, maybe you're stuck in between, but either way, this space is for you. So lean in, because here we don't just talk about life, we get the tools to truly live it out. New and In Between. Hello everyone, welcome to New and In Between. I'm your host, Mia Quinn Maddox. This is season 4, and as you guys can see, I'm in a park. I'm actually in London, and I have been, everyone who's been following and watching knows that this has been a real journey for me. I've been in a studio, I've been in my home, I've been in the studio, I've been back in my home. So I'm trying something new, and I am in London with my really good friend Debby Coda, and we are in, what park are we in? This is Brockwell Park, and we are in Brixton, right?
Yes, but this is Brockwell Park, and it's kind of in Brixton, yeah.
Okay, so everyone, this is my friend Debby Coda. Debby, welcome.
Thank you so
much for taking the time out to do this last minute and just believing in my project and allowing me to have you grace my podcast. So please introduce yourself and let everyone know how we know each other.
Well, like you said, my name is Debby Coda. I used to work in the music business. I first met you when 50 Cent was on tour here in the UK, I believe, the first time briefly.
Yes. No, we met first with the videos, Justin Timberlake video.
Yes.
That was the first time, because that was my first time in London.
Yes. I can't remember the name of the song now. But
I know we did AO Technology.
That's it.
That was the one. Yeah, it was AO Technology.
It was AO Technology.
Yeah, AO Technology.
So at that time, I was the European representative for Violator Management. I had a history working with artist management and just moving artists around when they came to the UK. Before that, I first started in artist management with the So Solid crew, which was the backup training for G Unit, definitely. Mm-hmm. And then I met James and Chris and became the European representative for them.
And when you say James and Chris, you mean James Cruz and Chris Lighty, which were part of the foundation of Violator Management.
Yeah, Chris Lighty was the chairman, CEO, and founder, and James at the time was one of his artist managers. So I started working with them. Basically, whenever they would come to Europe, I would take care of all the UK initiatives. And when they then came with Puff, when they started managing Puff, when he did the press play tour, I was booked to come out on the whole tour, and it was during that tour that Chris offered me the full-time position in New York. And it took me years to do paperwork, and by the time I was ready to move, James was no longer at Violator, and originally my job was to be his assistant.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, originally I was meant to move to New York to be James Cruz's assistant, but by the time it came to moving there, James was no longer with the company, so Chris called me and said, listen, you've done your paperwork, you have got background in artist management, and you already know all the artists, because obviously when they came to the UK, I was with them. It's like they will like and respect you, so I feel you can do the job as one of the management representatives. So everything changed, and all of a sudden my role completely changed, because it's obviously a big step, especially at that level of artist management.
Before you moved to New York, there was a point where I remember us being on tour together. There was a tour that 50 did, a European tour, because you were with us for that whole time.
That was actually when he dated Ciara.
Yeah.
This is when
I'm trying to remember. I'm like, yes, I do remember this.
Yeah.
Because I remember we did a tour, and you were with me that whole tour.
Yeah, what happened was, this is when he was dating Ciara, and he had a date in India. And she flew to India, but they hadn't done her visa.
And she couldn't get into India.
Yeah,
so I remember that.
I remember because I was actually at a dinner at I got all of a sudden my phone started blowing up and I got added into an email chain. Into an email chain talking about Sierra and sending her to the UK and getting me. I didn't know what was going on. I just got pulled into the chain, and then I kind of caught up to what they were saying. So basically, they flew her to London and they wanted me to take care of her for a week until 50 then came to Europe, and then I was to bring her to Paris. I can't remember. I don't remember. No, that's where I finished, I think. But anyway, we're at Prague. I met you guys in Prague, and so I looked after her for the week, and then came onto the tour. And I was meant to just bring her onto the tour, and then while I was there, Laurie messaged me and says, "Listen, whatever you're doing is good out there, so why don't you stay a little bit longer and also keep Sierra company, and when Pippi's busy." And I just started being me, and just did my thing, and I carried on until Paris, and that's when I left and went back to the UK. So yeah, there was that time. That's when we bonded.
Yeah. That's how we became friends. So
yes,
I was the only girl amongst all the boys, so if there wasn't a girlfriend, which there rarely was, but even when Sierra was there, I couldn't really keep her company because I was working.
Yeah.
So I was the only girl, and then Debbie came, and we became instant friends because she was the girl, I was the girl, and she was super cool, and she knew exactly how to maneuver and move, and it just became cool.
Yeah. We both had that kind of very strong presence as well, where we could hold that kind of masculine energy without, and be ourselves and not get disrespected or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was an instant connection.
Yeah.
And then I got offered my job, and then I came and I reached out to you, and you were very, very welcoming and allowed me to stay with you for the first, I think it was 8 months I stayed with you.
Yeah, when I lived in Jersey. And
yes.
You stayed with me. I always had a 2-bedroom apartment. Why? I don't know, but in that time, then you came and you stayed with me.
Yeah, I rented your spare room until I kind of figured out where I wanted to live, and it was actually really nice living in Jersey with you, because I got to do a lot of things that I probably would never have experienced.
Yeah, she became family because we all lived in the
same building. Yeah.
So it was me, my sister, my cousin Sean, Jean, who lived in the building. So we all partied together. It was like being in college.
You took me to my first New York strip club.
Oh yes,
Sin City.
Which is now closed.
Oh no way!
Yes.
No way!
Which is now closed.
I thought, and now being the era of the stripper, I thought that place would have been shining.
Yeah, no, it closed. I don't even know what it is right now, a parking lot or something. But yeah, no, it closed. Yep, Sin City closed. I do remember that. We did. Shout out to Jean for taking us to Sin City. And when it was like when the club started to transition into it was cool to go to the strip clubs, because that's where the club scene kind of went off into. But
and all the artists used to go to the strip clubs back then. It was like, I'm assuming it probably is similar now, but I would have no idea.
You could pay me to go into one of those places now.
But yeah, no, it was definitely an adventure, and you really helped me kind of find my way there. You helped me sort out my what was it?
Social security.
Yeah.
Social security number.
My driving license, all the bits and pieces that I needed to kind of be settled, so that I could then find my way. And then I moved to Harlem. I moved to
Harlem, and then you moved to Times Square.
Yes. I wanted to be in the city, and I wanted the Empire State Building view. I remember. I'm glad I got to have that experience.
You did Harlem. Once you got it's like I got you settled in, and then I was like, okay, cool, I'm comfortable, and now I can venture off.
Yeah.
Then you started meeting people and making your own contacts and your own connections. And
yeah, to be fair, that didn't take long. I feel like within a few months, it felt like I've been born and raised there.
But that's your personality. You fall in. It's like when you came in, even with June during that time, it was such a hard group to penetrate.
Yes.
And as a woman to come in and
as a young woman.
Exactly, a young woman who was from London, who was like the fantasy to American man. You had an accent. No, I'm serious. It's just what it was. So for you to come in and not get slutted out, excuse my language, but it's what happens in the music industry to a lot of women, and to hold your own in front of people and just, you know, carve your own way, it was dope.
And to be fair, there was even pressure sometimes from the industry. Like I remember Chris was once really like on me about trying to sign Chris Brown, because obviously I was friends with Rihanna and Chris Brown, and then they split, but I still remained friends with both of them. And he knew I had that connection, and it was like, do whatever it takes. And I was like, what does that mean? And then he was telling me stories about how this person at Def Jam slept with that rapper to get him signed and blah blah blah. And I was just like, no,
like I don't
no,
need
bro,
to do that.
that's absolutely not happening. You know.
Yeah. Debbie knew everybody. Literally, she knew everybody. She knew Rihanna, and it wasn't like I know Rihanna. No, when Rihanna would come to New York, where's Debbie? With Rihanna. I remember us partying together with her. Yeah. Debbie knew everybody, and everyone had such a love and respect for her. So it was cool to know Debbie.
Well, it's because I took care of everyone over here. When like everyone knew me from here. This was like the foundation for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Which that then later served me when I came to New York, because then everyone treated me like family. So it was kind of easy to kind of navigate and get in, and it was an intense but amazing experience. I mean, like we were saying this yesterday, how for us it was such a big leap, because we kind of went from here to up here at a time when it was so extravagant, the business.
It's so hard to get into the business. It's
yeah,
like I went from being assistant to being 50 Cent stylist.
Yeah.
To traveling the world, to touring, private planes. Like it was like a Cinderella story. It's like,
yeah,
you just went from being an assistant to now you're it.
Yeah. But at the same time, you don't realize the price, you know, like we were saying as well yesterday, you sacrifice so much to be in that position.
Yep.
Like you sacrifice your life, you sacrifice your wants and needs
Mm-hmm.
to be in their world, because their wants and needs become your absolute priority. It's always like, what does the principal want? The principal is the principal. That's all I'd ever hear. And to the point where I feel like my mind just continuously was like, what did they need? You know, what does 50 need? What does Buster need? What does Soulja Boy need? What does Mace Gray need? It was like,
so, as you say these names, let everyone know some of the artists that you named. I remember these names. I remember Jamaica with Macy Gray. Macy Gray is a good time. She was
oh my god, she was my favorite artist to actually tour with. I mean, she drive me a bit crazy when she decided to cancel things at the last minute or not wake up in time. But she's an older woman as well, and got kids, and like her energy levels were what they were at that time. But it's not because she's a phenomenal artist. She's a true artist.
She's a human.
Yeah, she's
Sometimes
a human.
Sometimes you are tired. Like, this industry will beat you down.
But aside from that, like, she was the most fun.
She was a good time.
Oh my god, she searched for the good time.
Yeah, she was a good time.
Yeah.
When I tell you, so we went to, and it's funny because I went to see my friend Nicholas. He was on a talk show, and when we were coming upstairs to the talk show, I seen Shaggy. I didn't say anything to him, but I remember going to Jamaica for New Year's for his benefit with Macy Gray.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, I can't wait. I need Debbie. Debbie is going to write a book, because when I tell you, we had some of the most best time, like, and it's not like slander. It's just, we had a good time.
I know. And as well, it's like we always found a way to make our situation like the best it could be. Like, do you remember when we were on a G-Unit tour, and some of the guys wanted to go to a strip club, and we ended up outside like these warehouses, and we were in a Slovakian country, and I was like, have any of you seen the Saw movies or anything like? And like literally, we pulled up to this industrial estate, and I was like, I thought we were going to a strip club, like petrified. I was thinking, oh my god, we're about to get kidnapped. And
we did everything. Like, it was like we didn't have no fear at that time. It's like, I had posted something on Instagram that's like, when our world travels, strangers become like, you just do things that you would never do. Not to say that that's what you should do or what is smart, but we did some crazy things.
But yeah, so Macy Gray, I was also responsible for Soulja Boy. who, you know, he was very young at the time as well. So like I had a very close connection to him. I was very protective of him because as well, you know, the way he grew up and everything, I felt like he needed a guardian actually. Because the thing is like, as much as I worked in the music industry and everyone was very cutthroat around me, I genuinely cared. I cared for my artists, I cared for their well-being, I cared for their mental health, I cared for everything.
No, you didn't.
And I took care of every little possible thing that I could possibly do. And so yeah, Soulja Boy, and then Busta Rhymes, who also holds a very special place in my heart. I do speak to him occasionally still. And as well with Busta, I ended up on the Respect My Conglomerate record, which was an accident.
Please let them know that, please, when you hear that song.
So I think actually I was the first UK person from the music industry to actually feature on a record with, you know, huge artists like them. So the Respect My Conglomerate, I used to, when I lived by the West Side Highway, I can't remember where that, the Silver Towers, on 42nd Street.
Yeah, that was in Times Square, yep.
I used to walk to and from the office as my like exercise every day, and I would usually pass by Wycliffe Studio, which Busta used to use back then, on the way home, or it was a couple of blocks out of the way, but sometimes I would pass by there. So he called me when I was in the office and asked me if I could stop by the studio on my way home, that he had something he wanted me to do. And when I got there, he gave me this speech and he said that it was going to be an interlude for a mixtape, or, you know, for the album. He wasn't too sure yet, and he just needed a British accent, so he had me say it the way he wanted me to say it. And then I left and I didn't think anything of it whatsoever until a few weeks later Mr. C messaged me, Mr. C from Hot 97, and he messaged me saying, yo, this shit's crazy, are you an artist now? And I was like message Debby Coda, you know, like, but I know, you know, and he's like, the record is insane. And I was like, you know, I completely had forgotten about that, and Busta had not mentioned anything to me, let alone giving a record to radio without informing us or telling us anything. And then he said, Respect My Conglomerate, and obviously then it clicked. So then I messaged Busta and I was like, Busta, what did you do with that speech I said to you? And then he was like, oh my God. He's like, I put it on a beat and it sounded amazing. And I was thinking, oh shit. You know, like, I knew Chris would not like it. He was hating it immensely. But the record was doing so well. Like, it literally, it got to the point where any store I walked in or any car that went past was bumping that record. And then Busta was like, you have to shoot a video and you have to be in it. And I was like, oh God. And I was trying to avoid, like, and I was on tour with Macy anyway, so it was a little bit out of the way to do it. And Chris was just, he was like, yo, are you an artist or a manager? And really kind of like, he put me in a box there. Like, and I know that is control, you know? And it's funny because I had so many opportunities to kind of step into the limelight, but I always kind of stepped away from it, which, you know, was my own inner work to do, or something would block me. But Busta like called me. I was in Sydney, Australia, and he called me asking where I was. I told him. He's like, when are you coming back? And I explained that I was coming through LA and then going straight to New York. And he was like, perfect. The day you land in LA is the day of the video shoot, so I will get you on the red eye that night straight to New York, so Chris can't be mad that you stopped and did the video, because you'll still be in the office on time. And then he had Chris Robinson, the director, on the phone, and I just didn't know what to do, because Chris was still like, you need to make a choice of who you are and blah blah blah. So then I called Stephen Hill, who was the president of BET at the time, and he was, you know, we were very close. We used to have a birthday party together. So I called him and asked him what he thought, and I said, this is what Chris is saying. Chris was all like, you don't see me up in the videos. And Stephen Hill was like, not accurate. De La Soul. He started going all the videos.
Stephen Hill is definitely the historian of of hip hop,
Yeah.
of music. Period. Like Stephen Hill was a good time too.
Oh, definitely.
He was such a good time. He just had an infectious energy about him that if you didn't dance, you did. You didn't. You just. He made you let go. You just party like I
have so much love for
I had
Stephen.
such a good
Shout
time.
out Stephen Hill.
Yeah, Stephen Hill was definitely a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure he still is because he is alive.
Yeah, but we
but in
transitioned
our
out
time,
of exactly.
Yeah.
It's like we've had we through our journey we got to meet people, we got to experience people. I got to experience a lot of people that I probably wouldn't have got to experience in those intimate settings without Debby, because she was so close to a lot of these people, and we were close. So when we partied, if she was going, I was going, and it was a good time. I'm grateful for that. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, we had a good time. We had a very good time, and regularly as well.
Yeah, we partied. I tell people we partied Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We didn't do Friday and Saturday because that was Bridge and Tunnel, and that was where all the tourists was. So we rested on Friday and Saturday, but Sunday through Thursday, we partied.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's funny because when I first moved to New York, I said to Chris, I was like, don't worry, I know I was the party girl in London. I'm not going to do that when I come here. I'm all about the work. And he was like, no. He's like, I need you to be exactly who you were in London. He's like, I need you out there waving the violator flag because I can't do it anymore. So I need you out all the time. And besides, my wife likes you and you can go with her. You know, like, so that was like the whole... part of my responsibility. But yeah, so I ended up doing the video, and then obviously as well I met Lil Wayne on that video set, and later on I ended up on Up and Away on the Carter 4. He asked me to do that, so, and at the time it's funny because it's like I was very nervous being in the studio. I couldn't think of what to say or do, so it was like I needed kind of guidance back then because it was not my comfort zone, because I was made to feel like that's not where I should be. So I kind of always stayed away from that, but I'll get to that later. Going back to my journey with Violator, so that was Buster, and then I also was part of Team 50. There was 4 of us that worked on 50, but I was usually more responsible for international touring. Sometimes I would be involved with the stuff in the US with the videos and like certain, if he had an event, or, you know, certain projects. Laurie handled his day-to-day, and I assisted her in a lot of that. So, and obviously G Unit was a big project because it was 50 is 50, you know, he's who he is, and back then it was like, you know, his schedule was crazy. I've never actually seen, like, with all the artists I've ever worked with, I've never seen a schedule like his.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I said, for the decade that I worked with him, I don't have a time span. Like, when I bump into people or when I meet people that I came across during that time, they're my reminder of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, remember when we were here, or remember when we did this, because there was so many, it was like, we just were on go.
Yeah.
Go. I tell people, I used to fly to London for the day.
Yeah.
London was a day trip for me. LA was a day trip for me. You would take the red eye to LA in the morning, to get there in the morning, work, get on the red eye back to New York. I would come to London, we would get here, we would leave at night, we would get here in the morning, I would do whatever we did for the day, and then the next morning we were on a plane off.
I'd be in the middle of a tour, and then all of a sudden be taken off the tour because it was a sudden spot date that 50 was doing somewhere and they needed all hands on deck. And so I'd like be in Russia and all of a sudden have to take the red eye to London.
So that we could go to Jakarta for the day.
Yeah, it was and non-stop, like it never really stopped, ever at all, until it did.
Went, and then it was an abrupt stop.
Yeah, it really was. So for me, it started to get a little bit crazy when, because obviously Chris had also opened up Brand Asset Group after he did the vitamin water deal. He did a deal, I think it was with Warner Brothers. Yes, they were the investors. And we had Brand Asset Group. So we had Violator, which was the artist management, and Brand Asset Group, which was the branding. So they did like Sprite and Drake and all those kind of things. And then they were handling all music initiatives for Coca-Cola. There was actually one trip where we handled the music initiatives for Coca-Cola for the World Cup. And Chris was meant to go to Africa for that specific event, and he walked into the office literally 2 or 3 days before he was meant to go and said, I'm not going to Africa. And like the whole of Brand Asset Group were like, what? You know, like, and who are you going to send? And he went, send Debbie. And like, I was there at my desk, like working on some Buster project or something. And I was like, who? And I had never had anything to do with it. So I didn't know anything about the project. And then just everyone started flying over to me with all these folders and all this stuff that I had to learn like in 48 hours and then get on the plane to Africa.
You did your thing though, I'm not gonna lie. You were
the problem solver.
You were the problem solver, but you were also, it just, I don't know, it was like to see you come in and just just handle everything. Like I would come see you in the office and I'm like, oh my gosh, you had all these folders. Like you had Soulja Boy, because then you gave me Soulja Boy for a little while, and then it's like, I'm like, I had Soulja Boy and I had 50, and then it was like in between doing 50, I was doing Soulja Boy, and then you were doing you had everyone.
Yeah, it was a lot, and then with the demise of you know what Chris was going through, the company went from being 22 people to 4 people. There was 4 of us left.
Yeah, music changed in the industry. The music industry shifted when streaming happened, and it was slow and then it was drastic.
Yeah, streaming happened, but I also feel like something else happened with the music. The music started to really change into a lower frequency. I'll get into all of that a bit later, because that's more to do with, you know, my realizations and the journey that I've been on since I left. But yeah, a lot changed. And Chris was not okay, and he then had partnered up with this company that was going to merge Violator with another company. But and bit by bit, more and more people were being let go of. Now, I was originally on the list of people that were moving with him because he had to agree all our salaries. And so I remember I was on that list, and he went to Africa on safari on a trip with some friends. And before he went, I was in the middle of doing a deal with Converse for Soulja Boy. And he left, and I finalized that deal and took care of it all. But I didn't, you know, inform him because he was on holiday. So I was told only message if it's really important. So, you know, that was something that I handled. Like, he usually left me 2 things on my own anyway. And then when he came back from Africa, he basically accused me of that I was plotting to leave and take Soulja Boy with me, which if that was the case, I would never have put the 150 grand into the Violator account. Why would I do that?
Yeah, and why would you take Soulja Boy when you had access to everybody?
It was just, even like when she called me in after, she was crying her eyes out. And she's like, I don't believe it. Like, I know you haven't done this. And I was like, when she told me, I was just, I think I was in so much shock. I was just like, if that's how he feels and what he thinks, I'm leaving right now. And I'm taking everything with me. And I did. I packed up all my stuff and I left. You came to pick me up.
I did.
You came to pick me up. So, and at the time, I did have my own artist that I was working on that he had not. I wanted to sign her to Violator. Her name was Sagara. But then, like, he was like, you know, build her up and see where this goes. Because this was the thing with Chris. He got to that point where he only wanted to sign artists that were already big and take them to the next level. And that's where we were at that time. And so I was working on her. And so I left. And for about 9 months, I was working on her. And I was working with Eric Murillo.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
I knew Eric since I was 17 from when I used to be in Ibiza. I ran the first garage rave in Ibiza when I was 18. So I had a lot of connections there. So that helped keep me going till I figured out what I was going to do, because I was in talks with different people. And in the end, I was, the 2 that I was, you know, deciding which one was Kanye and Puffy. And the thing with Kanye's people, it was this A&R that really wanted me to come to the company, but they couldn't decide on what my job would be. They just wanted me. And then with Puff, obviously I had a long, you know, standing relationship with him. I I had, looked after one of his Ibiza trips. Whenever I was out and him and Cassie were there, I always ended up with them. I was close to Cassie, I was close to James and many people that worked for him. So it just felt a lot more natural to go and work for him. And my job at the time that I was hired for was basically he didn't want to have to speak to anybody about work ever again. Like all business would have gone to me and then me to him and then vice versa. So I feel like I would have been used like a manifestor and generator at that time because that's what my gifts were. But the job was not available for a year and a half. So they created a temporary job for me, which was to go to Miami and be the brand and marketing ambassador for Ciroc. So at the time they had already an ambassador there, but it still wasn't.
Just give a little brief description of what a brand ambassador for a liquor company is.
To be fair, I don't really know the whole logistics because I never trained. I never got my training. I'll explain why later. And I had no idea how liquor companies worked or what they were meant to really do. I mean, what the branding ambassadors were usually doing was going and spending money in all the clubs to move the product and to bring, to do our initiatives and keep all the different, what do you call them?
So like bottle service, basically. So a lot of people don't know that there's someone there that is paid to buy the bottles to make us buy the bottles, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's actually like making sure that each that venue that you have that you're working with, that they have a bit of a spend and visibility, because obviously every time we went in and did that, we would be buying drinks for other people. It's not just, it's not that just us, the bottle and the table. Well, I mean, in the end, it ended up being that for me. But what we were meant to do is go to all the accounts and do a minimum spend in each place and just to visibility. Because the thing is, Diageo is publicly owned, so they can't pay to play, which is what the other companies do. Because they're privately owned and there's loopholes. So like they'll sponsor, these super clubs, and you'll see Belvedere and Grey Goose everywhere, or whichever brand is doing it for that night. They'll sponsor certain events, so I guess that will pay for the DJ or whoever, whatever, and then you see the branding everywhere. But Ciroc could not do that. So when I first got there, I was like, ugh. It's like I'm 33, now I'm back in clubs, away from what I'd been doing, away from my structure, away from all of it. But basically, the night I flew there, I accepted the job and I flew to Miami, and the next morning I get a call from James Crew. He says, do me a favor, call Laurie and find out where Chris is. And I was like, please do not get me involved, because they used to like always be bickering and having their own little fallouts. So I was like, please do not get me involved in your shit. Like, no. And also I had just made up with Chris about a month before. Eric Murillo insisted that we sit down and speak, because he was like, I can't work with you and Chris wants to work with me. And he's like, I told Chris I can't work with him if he doesn't make up with you, so like you two need to speak. So we did meet and speak, and I could see something was very wrong, and he was offering me literally everything to help me with my artist. He said he'd give me all his expertise and his contacts if I gave him a piece of anything that I made. And I just like thought it was very strange. And my ego was very hurt and damaged. I was there on a visa, so to let me go was letting me go in a way that could have really messed things up for me. If I didn't go to a big company and didn't act quickly, that was also compromising me even living there, which at this point it became my home. So I had a lot of things that in me were not forgiven.
Sometimes when it's like the unforgiveness and bitterness will not allow you to hear people. It will not allow you to. Also, ego and pride, like it could be the demise of a lot of things.
I mean, the version of me now would have seen through that and been able to sit with that. I've done the type of work I have done on myself since. So when I said to him, like, don't get me involved in your stuff, he was like, I just heard a rumor and I want to make sure it's not true. And I was like, what's the rumor? I heard that Chris shot himself. I was like, absolutely no fucking way. There's absolutely no way that could be true. And then I called the Violator office, which at this point had merged. Primary, I can't remember what the name of the company was, but it had merged. And I asked, he's not here today. I said, okay, must speak to it's like, here today. And I was like, well, who can buy that? No one can buy later. It's available. And that's what I started. And so I called Chris's daughter. And when she picked up the phone, she was screaming, and that's when I realised it was true. And I just went numb, like immediately. No emotion, nothing. I called the bad boy office, the rock office that was still at that point. And they flew me straight back to New York so that I could help with the funeral and be there for that week. And that's why I never got my training, because my training was meant to be scheduled for that week. And then I came back to New York and we dealt with the funeral thing. And so like for me, like Chris was family and my idol, you know, I looked up to him. He brought me from South London to New York City and gave me my career. So the bond and the connection was very strong, and it wasn't until years later that I really figured out how much it affected me. So that was a lot to see the emails. I also saw that the reason why he fired me was, well, not fired me, but like why that whole thing happened was because basically for about a year I saw the whole email chain between him and his wife. Me and her had fallen out like about a year and a half before I parted ways with the company, because she always said to me, do not involve our friendship with your work, like he's your boss, I'm your friend. And then she did something which went against that. Like she went to him, she didn't like something she saw on my BBM or something, I can't even remember exactly. And I was like, fuck that. And I was like, no, okay. So I separated from her, and she was used to everyone kissing her ass, and I was not about to do that. So me and her separated. It was a weird situation, but then, and in the email himself, he said, she's the only one making me money right now. And also there had been a previous time when Soulja Boy had fired Chris and his lawyer, everybody. We were in a big meeting, he fired everybody and said, the only person I want to hear from is Debby. Like,
you had a special bond with him, because even when I had Soulja Boy for a little while, he was like a wild card. Meant well, just given too much too soon, too young. And everybody around him was like, yes man. Because remember he fired me because he said I lied to him because I was supposed to, I forget what group of videos we did, and I had to get back to New York to do, we were doing like some morning show, but I had to get back because I had to do something with 52, so I sent my assistant so that I could go home and shower and change my clothes, and I didn't come to the morning show, I came to the next thing, and he was like, you lied to me. It was just, I don't know, he was interesting. It was interesting, but then he ended up, we ended up making friends, so I'm like, people don't fire me, Soulja Boy. Like, at the end of the day, then you're fired. It was, good times. Shout out to Soulja Boy, though.
Yes, big love.
Good times.
Big love. But, and Chris said to me, like, still help him because everything will fall apart if he doesn't have you. Because at the time I was doing absolutely everything from like his scheduling, his tour routing, his budgets, everything. And then eventually he came back to the company because of this. So I can't remember why. Oh yeah, so the email chain. And then eventually I saw him cave in and said, okay, I will let her go. So it was like seeing all of that, knowing I'd held all this like against him, because I felt crushed that he'd done that to me, and then seeing the reason why it happened, and then just all the other emails, like it was just horrendous, like watching the dialogue between him and his wife. But and then I went back to Miami, and now I was in nightclubs again, and it had been a long time since that had been my focus. It took scheduling and like not having an office and all these things, like it was a little bit all over the place. And what I didn't realize is that I was in the early stages of my ADHD coming out, because women of our generation, a lot of women, it's like an epidemic of women that have ADHD, but because when we were younger it wasn't recognized because we didn't show symptoms like boys did. So what I realized is that my whole entire career, I was laser focused, the hyper focus of ADHD. When I spoke to the specialist, he was like, you burnt out your brain, basically, like, because you were constantly on go mode.
But that's what we're taught. We're taught to be independent, to have your own, to work hard,
be a boss.
to be a boss. And then we just focus on that, and then we just go. Just like I said, I went. I don't even for 10 years. I just went. I was just how I did that on my own.
I know, because you had the whole entire group on your own.
50, Lloyd Banks, Tony Yayo, Young Buck when he was there, Mobb Deep when they were there, Governor, Who Kid, the band, and then whatever Project 50 would pick up, Hot Rod, Leah, on top of everything that he was doing, every commercial, every video, the fragrance, the energy drink, the sneakers, the clothing lines, the movies. I mean,
it didn't stop.
No.
I remember as well, like I've got to say, his work ethic was unbelievable. Like, he'd be on a movie set and he'd have a studio boss on the movie set to work on his album while he was on the movie. But I think this is where he went wrong, because it's like, I feel like these kind of things all need their own time, and an album definitely needs its own time.
Yeah.
And I think it was too much. But, you know, to be fair, I mean, you remember, like, if you got in the room with 50 and he started talking about film scripts and movie scripts, even like before he started doing it, you were going to be there for 4 hours listening to all of it. And I mean, it was all fascinating stuff.
No, he
I missed my chats with him, actually.
So do I. He was like he was a manifestor too, and a visionary, because
absolutely
a lot of the stuff that he's doing now, he spoke about years ago.
Yeah.
And it inspired us, and it pushed us, and his work ethic led on to us, because my mentality was, if he's up, I'm up.
Exactly.
And he was always
my
up.
mentality was, I have to be up before him, because I have to be ready for him.
And if you was up before him, he was up before you.
Yeah, like yeah, it's true. It was insane working with them. And as well, I think my relationship with them was what it was because I was not a yes man. I was the only person that always told the truth, even if they didn't like it. And I don't know if it was because it was being received by a woman that they kind of like were like, okay. But, you know, it's like, but they knew they would get that honesty from me. So that's why I think he would always like tell me things and run through things with me to see what I would say. Because I would never bullshit.
Not only that, you was also smart and you knew what the hell you were talking about. Like the one thing that I always said about 50 that I learned, he didn't talk to people for no reason. He did not, and I don't know how he is now, but he did not talk to people for no reason.
Yeah.
He did not have conversations with people for no reason. Like, there was no like small talk with him. Either he spoke to you and it was for him to get something out, or you were learning something from him and he knew that you were learning something from him, hence why he spoke to you. But there was never a reason. Like, there was never like he's just having random conversations with you.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he was very much like that. Yeah. So anyway, back to Miami.
So you ended up in Miami. He's Ciroc ambassador.
Yeah. So
Eric Murillo, Sagara.
So the crazy thing with that was, I was working on Eric and Sagara's project at the same time as learning, you know, kind of working out what to do with Ciroc. I was going through a difficult time. You know, the first 6 months I was there was very hard for me because also what happened was that I kind of had part of the reason why I'd gone to Miami was because of Sagara. And then I woke up one day and she was sitting at the end of the bed and she was like, I need to speak to you. I had a dream that the devil came. Was it Jesus? Jesus came and told her she was completely down the path of the devil. And basically then the devil showed up and she was flying in the sky with the devil and he was showing her the music business and everything. He's like, this is taking you this way, in my way. So you come with me. And then Jesus was like, well, you come with me. I can't remember exactly what the dream was, but it was, she was like, it felt like it really happened. And she's like, I can't do this. I can't be in the music business. Which was like, what? You know, I had gotten Buster on the record with her. Skepta, he's a UK artist, a really big UK artist. But at the time, he wasn't that big in America. And I remember, was it Ace or Viz? Or one of the DJs. I think it was Viz. one of the they were on Radio 1 Extra at the time. Whenever someone from the UK that they wanted to back came, like Jamal Edwards from SBTV, when he first came to America, it was me that got him all his interviews with all the big American artists as a favour to his. And then when Skepta came, I really connected with him and his people. Like, I really had a really good vibe with Skepta, and you know, I took him out to the clubs. I made the DJ play the records, his records. It was the first time like he'd been to the UK, so I had a good friendship with him, and he was coming to New York, and I got him to be in the video with her to play the male. He really liked her as well as an artist. He really believed in her. Everyone believed in her. I think even a lot of people were shook about, you know, if she blew up, what would it mean for other people, because she could sing incredibly well, and she was an amazing dancer, and she was beautiful, so she was a threat. But anyway, this happened, and as well, she didn't tell me then that she was also planning to move to LA. I found out a month later of when she first decided by her ex-boyfriend. He told me at dinner, it's like, oh yeah, because Sagara's moving to LA, and I was like, what? And I didn't know. And meanwhile, she'd gone to LA a few times. She'd borrowed loads of my clothes and taken them to LA and left them there. Like, so when she went, I felt very betrayed. So between that, Chris's death, and also I had been raped a year before me and Chris fell out. We were working on another group, Angela Janae. They were the songwriters for, you know, the song with Jay-Z and Alicia Keys, New York. And Angela had also written well, they both had written loads of songs for many huge songs. Their hooks were written by them, and I was going to LA a lot for their songwriting in the studio. And when I was in LA, I was raped by somebody in the music industry, and but I had like pushed through it, and like, no one's going to believe me. You know, also at the time it was very confusing because I didn't know I had been raped before when I was in my early 20s by a doctor while I was under anesthesia. And so when it happened, I froze, and it kind of like, I was saying no, but physically I kind of allowed it to happen, because I did try and fight a little bit, but it's like at a certain point I completely froze, and I couldn't understand how a woman like me, so strong, so powerful, could let that happen to me. I even convinced myself that I must have wanted it or something, you know, like I went through such a process with it. And in the end, it was like I had to just move on. I remember even like he was messaging me when I went back to New York. He was like, "You're going on like as if I raped you," and I was like, "Your words." And then I never heard from him again. Apart from one time on Facebook, he messaged me "Happy birthday," but I didn't respond. I'm
sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. And it's okay. I have done the work around it now, but it's like understanding where I was at that point. You know, like I had not processed Chris's death. There was no time. I had not processed what, you know, what it really meant, what was going on between me and him that whole time, you know, hearing the things that I was being told by his best friends, and also as well just the responsibility of it, of everyone that he knew, and he knew everybody and was friends with everybody. It's like to be the person that they come to with all of this, just, it felt so kind of like overwhelming, but I didn't really realise the effect that it had on me. And so, and working for Puff, it was very different. Like I always had a good connection with him. You know, for me, I never experienced the side of him that people are talking about. He always really held with me, was very respectful. But you know what my demeanour was like. I was not really somebody that you would take the piss with. You know, that's what we say in the UK. Like.
Like you just didn't play, like Debbie she had a certain demeanor about her that you just didn't test her. There was certain women in the industry that you just didn't play with.
Yeah.
You knew it's like, nah, she's not with that. She's not really with it.
And I mean, even when I fucked up, he never, he would yell at somebody else, not yell at me. You know, like he always was so cool with me. And the fun, he liked to party, and it got me into partying. I remember when I first joined the company, there was a couple of people that had just left, and they were like, "Be careful, you will see." And they were telling me that when they left, it felt like this huge dark cloud had left them. And I remember even the first time I met Puff, James Cruz, just as he brought me over to him to introduce me to him, before he introduced me, James turned around and went, "The devil himself." and then introduced me to him, and I was like,
see, people don't understand this power in words, and we be saying things playing around, and in our jokes, we're speaking things over people's lives that we may not even know that we're doing, like, you know?
And as well, now looking back on it, I look at it as a universe giving you signs, warnings, you know?
We supposed to be. Laura got her warning, and
she listened.
And she listened, and sometimes it's like when we date men, we get our red flags, and we like to turn red flags green because we want what we want, and we want the opportunity, and we feel like the opportunity is so grand, and who's gonna turn down working for Puff because it's puffy? It's like, who's gonna turn down working for 50? Like, these are the people that you dream of working for, especially if you're working in the music industry. These are the people that you want to work with because success is attached to them, and you feel like success is attached to them, that it's going to attach to you. But you don't realize other stuff attaches to you also sometimes.
100%. So, you know, about 6 months into working for Ciroc, I was finding it very difficult to be out all the time drinking. I wasn't a drinker. I never, ever, thank God, because alcohol is the worst of them all. It's a very dark spirit attached to alcohol, and this is why people get so lost and get so depressed and lose themselves. But eventually I realized that, you know, Ciroc was only really moving in hip-hop clubs, but those clubs were being bought out by the other companies, so there was not much visibility, not much going on. So I was like, I need to start going to house clubs. And at this point, I hadn't really gone out to house clubs for years. I mean, obviously I started going to Ibiza since I was 13. I lived there for 3 seasons. I ran the first garage party in Ibiza when I was 18. So this is like 90s, late 90s, into the early 2000s. But that's how long it had been, really. And when I went to Ibiza with Puff, that was the only other time that I really experienced the rave, shall we say. But this was at a time that, you know, I'd never taken drugs in my life, ever. The only time before that I'd done anything was I tried weed when I was 30, and it was Rihanna that gave me my first spliff. I think it was, so basically she would fly out a bunch of us on these girls' trips every so often. There was like 8 or 9 of us, and all women that worked in either fashion or music or something, and we were all strong, powerful women in our own right. And it's like, at that time she was young, and it's like I feel like she took parts of, not took it, but like
she was absorbing from everywhere. She felt like these are women that I had, like, they say that if your network is not, she was choosing her network.
Absolutely. And we'd have a lot of fun on those trips, and I remember I was up in her suite, and I was laying on her bed waiting for her to get ready, and she come out of her room with a joint, and she was like, no, she didn't even have a joint, I can't remember, but she came out of her room, she's like, did they never ask you, when to smoke weed? And I was like, I never actually have tried. And she's like, you about to right now, think of the story for your grandkids, you know, like, she was like, you have to, we're in Vegas, and you know, and then she was like calling out to Melissa to roll a joint, and that's when I first tried it. And then the only times I did it was a few times with her, but every time I would just either not stop talking, and then the moment she left me alone for 2 minutes, I'd pass out. So, and I felt very overwhelmed by it, so I was like, this is not for me. So then so then during the time working for Puff, I tried MDMA. I went to Space, and that's when I first tried MDMA, and I had the time of my life. I was at Space, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden this huge venue was getting full. Like, the music was amazing, there was no negativity, because also as well, even though now looking back on it, the music was always negative in hip-hop, even though it might tell, you know, a story that people relate to, all this kind of stuff, something happened in like 2010, 2011, around the time Chris died actually. It changed, and it became very dark, very heavy, a bunch of nonsense. I don't listen to hip hop anymore, because not anything new anyway, because it would just I would not do that to myself. It's so depressing, so dark and heavy, and it's like people don't realize that songs, spelling is called spelling for a reason. What you speak will come back to you. It's the law of attraction. So if you're thinking of the law of attraction and you're sitting in the car singing along to lyrics about shotting drugs and shanking people and all this kind of stuff, you know, expect that to be in your energy field. Expect to attract those kind of people. Expect to attract that kind of life. If you're constantly singing songs about heartbreak, you know, with no positive ending,
I mean,
you're gonna.
How many of us was singing? You know, I talked about this one time before. We were singing Mary J. Blige, "I'm Going Down" at 12 years old. What did I know about going down?
Exactly.
You know.
But you're saying it, so it's coming. You know, because the thing is as well, when you're singing it, you're chanting, and it's like, and this is all done on purpose. I'm not saying that artists are all doing it on purpose. Some maybe, but like they're channeling it because the songs are coming from it's my expression. Blah 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 blah. But you're not understanding that this channel can be infiltrated, and I know this because it happened to me, by many different entity and beings, and so therefore, you know, they think it's their expression. Half of them are, I mean, a lot of them are on some sort of drug, whether it be recreational or the Percocets, the Xannies, and whatever, the codeine. Like, it's all drugs, regardless of, like, you might not be sniffing coke every day, but if you're taking anything every day, you're addicted to something. Same with caffeine, anything, like anything that is in your life continuously, you're addicted to it. You're an addict, like, as one that I've been myself before. So but you know, I didn't have this understanding of the music, but I could feel it. I didn't like it. Like the new hip-hop, I was just like bored. The boredom, this is what the difficulty was as well. I had to go to all these clubs and I was bored, so bored. And then Jessica Rosenberg. Let's Jessica, shout out to Jess.
I love Jess.
Obviously in New York I had a very tight relationship with her. I went and supported all her parties. She sometimes would put me on the flyer, because at this point now I was very well known in the New York scene, and she'd put me on the flyers, sometimes co-hosting with her.
And she was one of my favorite people because she took care of me all the time. Whether it was whether it was a group, she didn't play with everybody, but when she did, I love her. Shout out to Jessica Rosenblum.
Yes, big love. And she, at this time, you know, I'm having difficulty finding my feet in Miami, and then New Year's Eve was coming up, and she called me. She said, "Listen, I'm hosting a party at Bamboo with French Montana," and obviously French at the time was also a Ciroc boy. And she's like, "Why don't you co-host it with me, and I'll make it a Ciroc party, like only Ciroc being served, like that will be on my terms and conditions." So I agreed. Like I messaged the office, I told them the whole story, and they were like, "Absolutely, do it." And then I got a call from Dave Grutman, going mental, that I was on a flyer on arrival night, because obviously it was live on Sunday, and he's told me that I wasn't violator management anymore. Now I was Ciroc, and there's rules, and I needed to learn them. And I was like, okay. And then when I next went to live, I was told that I was banned from the VIP and the DJ booth. So I never went back. I left, like I didn't go to live at all.
Which is crazy, because, and then anyone who knows Live on a Sunday, like, you made my, oh gosh, what birthday was that? My 35th birthday, my sister's birthday. You know how many times? So we would go to Live. Remember, they had put us in the back, and then when Debbie came, and I don't know what she said. All I know is that all our stuff got picked up, and we got moved to the front by the DJ booth. You had a different kind of pull, and this wasn't just in Live. This was like in all of the clubs. Yeah.
Well, this happened then later, because this was at the time when I was still kind of finding my feet. I moved to Miami in August, and this was the New Year's Eve directly after, and so I left, and then I really like. When that happened, and that's it, I went back home. Obviously this created drama. James called me, was like, he really went in on me. He was like, "You're so ungrateful, you're fucking up the job," and blah 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 blah. And I just was like, when he spoke to me that way, something just switched in me, and I was like, I'm going to be the best brand ambassador that anyone has ever seen. You know, like it ignited the fire. But I just had to figure out how, and then I realised I needed to go to the house club, so I needed to find my arse space. But the problem was that I would always be sleepy by the time it was time to go to space, and then that's when one of my friends gave me an MDMA crystal, And I went to space, and still didn't feel nothing, but I was like, oh, but I'm awake, you know, there we go. And then someone gave me a capsule, and that was it. It was like an explosion went off. At first I was very overwhelmed, but then once I got into it, I was there till 1 o'clock in the afternoon in front of the DJ booth, like non-stop, like moving. And that started off, not the demise, because I don't like to say that anymore, because it was the shift.
Yeah. It took you down. It's like you get to a certain part in your life where there's a few roads, and that's the road you took.
Yeah. I think as well, I was in a place of my life where I needed to let go of so much. Anyway, so that became my Saturday night, and then I started bringing people like Rihanna and French Montana. You know, before I would always be on the promoters table, who I got on very well with. Shout out to Emmy and Lewis, and then I started bringing like ridiculous amounts of artists. I started making that VIP look like Live on Sunday. You know, like I took everybody there: French Montana, Lil Wayne, Rihanna, and these are all people that never ever had been to space. Even Buster came to space on my birthday. But anyway, so at this point, space basically said you can have a table for free, you know, for life, and we're carrying Ciroc. You can have your Ciroc table, and so I literally, and they put my table next to Emmy's, and that part of the club was always heaving, and all the nightlife from Miami would come straight to our tables and straight onto mine. I would look after all the VIP table girls, all the security, anyone that came from South Beach were always on my table. And so then what the girls told me was, legally all the clubs carried Ciroc. There was always Ciroc in the back. They just didn't put it on the menu because we didn't pay. And then all the VIP guest list girls and waitresses were telling me that they were telling people, we have got Ciroc, it's not on the menu, but we have Ciroc in flavors. So then all of a sudden Ciroc started moving all over the beach. And then Chris Pacello called me out of the blue. Shout out to Chris, love him. He had gone into partnership with Dave Ruttman. Shout out to Dave, big love Dave. I learned so much, and you took care of me in the end. And he had gone into partnership with Dave in a new super club called Story. And Chris was like, you know what, every time I see you, you're always with a group of beautiful girls. Why don't you come and host a table? He's like, no matter what is going on in the club, I will still put Ciroc on your table. So I'll give you free Ciroc and I'll pay you. And you just come with your crew. And I was like, okay. Because they were starting a hip hop night on the Thursday. So at this point, not realizing, every single girl I met in Miami, I would store her as Ciroc girl. So I then sent out a blast to all these Ciroc girls that I had put in my phone, and telling them if they wanted to come, it would be a free table, no men allowed, just us girls on the table, free drink, nothing expected of them, just to come and have a good time, and to meet me on the corner at this time, and we could roll in together. And it was like 46 girls showed up. I was like, oh my god. It was like a section that was needed for my table. And I walked up to the ropes, and of course Dave Ruttman was standing right there, and he turned around and he saw me, and he said, Miss Coda. I was like, Mr. Ruttman, and he opened the rope for me, and I walked in. and that was that. And then I still didn't go to Live though. I was there for quite some time, and I remember Jojo would come to space, like, you know, that we're all good now, and you know, you're always welcome, that all of that is over, and blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, I'll come back when Dave asks me. You know, like, and then eventually I also started doing a party called Blonde Ambition with Simply Jess and Cameo every Saturday. And that was crazy because it was just us two. Like Roman Jones, shout out to Roman, he really had a vision. He was like, all these parties are like, you know, paying these big rappers to come, and sometimes it doesn't work, and there's too much rivalry. It's like, I think, like, to put two boss chicks together, you know, like just being like the original Miami, you know, promoter, model, and she had Miami on Smash anyway, and then I came in and quite rapidly got to that kind of status. So putting us together and hosting that party, it's just like, it was always going off. Every Saturday we were packed, and then whatever rapper was hosting whatever other party would come to us. Yeah. So our names were always outside in lights, and one day I walked into the story and I saw Dave, and he was like, "You made it. Your name's in lights. You made it officially." I was like, "No, I've made it. My name is in lights that live." He's like, I said, "It's my birthday in 2 weeks." He's like, and that's the first time I went to live. And I have to say they really went to town. Like truly, I had like a Ciroc carriage smell, and my name was in lights. And then Buster was right next to me. He was like, "Do you remember one day Brockwell Park used to be VIP?" I was like, "I know." So it was fun. I learned so much, and I then began a beautiful relationship with everybody, and I was freely just doing my own thing. Like even with the American Airlines arena, we couldn't get into that because it was owned by Bacardi. But then Hyde opened up underneath in the car park, and that was part of the SLS group. So I just rocked up with like a whole crew of girls one night, and then the GM there was like, "What will it take for you to come every like to all the games with your crew?" And basically they ended up carrying the whole entire Diageo portfolio, not just Ciroc.
All right, so we're gonna pause because we're going to move to another location. Let's go find another place in the park.
Okay.
All right. Stand by.
Don't forget to click like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment here at New and In Between. I'll see you next time. Peace. Hey everyone, it's your girl Mia Quinn Maddox, and this is New and In Between.